Hello, kia ora, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you for joining us for our Wednesday weather update for February the 15th. We're still tracking Cyclone Gabrielle. It lies to the east of Gisborne at the moment, the centre does, and it's still bringing in strong winds and some rain along the eastern side of the country from about Banks Peninsula up to about southern and coastal parts of Hawke's Bay. Now the storm itself is weakening and it is tracking away from the North Island. So this windy wet weather is slowly sliding across the lower part of the North Island, and by the end of today most of it should be finally out at sea. But you can still see there's a little bit of windy weather behind it all that's being pulled across the country as the storm tracks towards the Chatham Islands and continues to weaken. Let's have a look at the radar. This was taken mid-morning on Wednesday. You can see that southerly coming through with the wet weather, and like I say, it is very slowly tracking along like that with the storm itself. And there are a couple of showers further north. In fact, a little bit of patchy rain. What you can't see is maybe some more wet weather that's under here because the Hawke's Bay rain radar also went offline, most likely due to the power. So we're not seeing necessarily the full picture of what's going on in the north there, but the good news is it is clearing and easing. So a much better forecast. It's good to see some blue sky around the North Island today, including a little bit of sunny weather popping up in Hawke's Bay. So by tonight, where is the storm? Well, it is tracking towards the Chatham Islands. For the Chatham Islands, it won't be much beyond the normal stormy weather you get, but the seas are certainly going to be very dangerous, and that could cause some coastal problems around the Chathams. Otherwise, the storm itself probably doesn't pose too much of a threat compared to the usual weather you would get on the Chatham Islands, but there are severe weather conditions for a time as that storm tracks through. You can see the southerly portion here pulling away from the country as we go into tonight, but still most of New Zealand is under the low pressure zone as we go through into Thursday. So we're not totally finished with it, even though the worst of the wind and rain has cleared away by the end of Wednesday. As you can see, most of the stormy stuff's out here now. We've still got plenty of low pressure over the country. And that means as we go into Thursday, there's still a little bit of unsettled weather. Not only have we still got a lingering southerly with a few showers carrying on around Wellington, Wairarapa, and maybe around the Kaikoura area, but we're also going to see a few downpours popping up around the North Island under that low pressure zone that just still remains. So a bit of daytime heating and the moisture and the wet ground all leads to afternoon cloud buildups and maybe a few thunderstorms through inland areas to the north there into the afternoon. But see what is out here to the west. High pressure on the way, keeping it dry still in the south of the country, and by Friday further up and towards not only the top of the top of the South Island, drying out conditions around Kaikoura, for example, but also drying out a lot of the weather around the North Island. But there still might be a lingering downpour just in the afternoon around Auckland and Northland. So you'll have to be aware of those because with the ground so wet, any downpour could lead to further slips in particular, and maybe some localised flooding as well. But we're not really expecting flooding to be so much of a problem, but slips are certainly going to be an issue still for the many parts of the North Island. Still got the southerly lingering on the back end of Gabrielle here on Friday. There is the low still over the Chatham Islands, but 994 hectopascals. It is certainly weakening and falling apart. And here on Saturday, look at this. It's basically gone. The leftovers of it dropping away. The Chathams have got high pressure rolling in, as does much of the rest of New Zealand, with just a few showers on the outer edges here, maybe one or two downpours remaining in the afternoon, simply because with the heat and all the moisture, there'll be a bit of humidity in the afternoon, and that certainly does favour a few downpours. Elsewhere, we haven't really talked about Australia for a while. There's plenty of wet weather at the moment up around Cairns. They've got about 200 or 300 millimetres over the next 5 days, so some very wet weather for northern parts of Queensland. And this weekend, we are still seeing a bit of life up here around Fiji and Tonga. There's a low pressure zone that's forming. Don't stress, it's not forecast to become a tropical cyclone at this stage. It is remaining a low pressure zone to our north. High pressure over the country for Sunday, keeping the country mostly dry, although the west coast will see westerlies developing and a little bit of rain over there, nothing major. And then by Monday, that rain actually becomes a little bit heavier, mostly, again, south of Lake Hokitika, and warm and sunny in the east, and in the North Island, mostly settled and calm, thanks to high pressure. So it's a good forecast coming up for the North Island. That low up here, worth keeping an eye on because plenty of low pressure still to form up here. La Nina is lingering. It was supposed to have gone, a month or so ago. It is still with us. it is mostly in the atmosphere, but we're still seeing these low pressure zones and downpours. So the weather pattern we've got at the moment is likely to carry on into March. Still seeing a lot of tropical energy up here and around northern parts of Australia, and New Zealand seeing a bit of an autumn weather pattern starting to show up in the south here. You'll see a cold front next Wednesday, dropping temperatures, and that will drive some showers up the eastern side of the country. A little bit of a sign maybe that autumn is just around the corner, which by the way is our most popular season. We ran polls on it for about 10 years at Weather Watch, and every time autumn beat summer, just by a small amount, but it was always just slightly ahead of summer. And the reason why people preferred it, better nights, better temperatures at night for sleeping. Still hot days, but better temperatures at nighttime. So there you go. That's all from me. I will see you again tomorrow, Thursday. It'll be our final update for this week. We won't be doing a video on Friday just because we need a break as well. But we'll see you again tomorrow, Thursday, with our next update. And thank you again also for all the amazing comments that we're seeing. Can't respond to them all just yet, but really do appreciate them. We'll catch you tomorrow.